Today's U.S. Air Force must be prepared to accept losses as high as those suffered in World War II, warns the Air Force's new Chief of Staff. But that prognosis had better be wrong. Because in World War II, the U.S. could lose 60 heavy bombers in a single raid, and the U.S. simply does not have enough planes or pilots to sustain that level of attrition. Tomorrow's airmen are more likely to fight in highly contested environments, and must be prepared to fight through combat attrition rates and risks to the nation that are more akin to the World War II era than the uncontested environment to which we have since become accustomed, said General Charles Brown, Jr., who presented a new strategic approach titled, Accelerate Change or Lose. Brown warned that the U.S. Air Force can no longer assume that it will dominate the skies as it has in the past. Potential adversaries such as China and Russia are fielding a new generation of sophisticated weapons, including stealth fighters and advanced anti-aircraft missiles. If we ignore the problem and don't talk about what's at risk and the potential for high attrition rates and we just continue on the path we're on, then shame on us, said Brown, who called for greater joint cooperation with the other services as a solution. But just what would a World War II rate of attrition look like? Consider the famous October 1943 raid on Schweinfurt, when 291 U.S. Army Air Force, as the U.S. Air Force was then known, B-17 Flying Fortress bombers attacked German ball-bearing factories. Unescorted by fighters, 60 out of 291 bombers were destroyed by German interceptors and flak, and another 22 crashed on landing or were too badly damaged to be repaired. That was a 28% loss rate. Bomber crews, who had to complete 25 missions before they could return home, calculated that at this tempo, their odds of surviving a tour were almost nil. Deep penetration raids into Germany were suspended until long-range P-51 Mustang fighter escorts became available in 1944, but even then, there were raids where bombers suffered losses of 5% or more. As for the Germans, the Luftwaffe lost one-third of its daytime fighter force in a single week in February 1944. Now just imagine 60 B-52 bombers shot down in one day. Or even 16 aircraft, which would be 28% of the Air Force's current fleet of 58 B-52Hs. The U.S. produced an amazing 276,000 aircraft during World War II, with 16 new B-17s per day rolling out of the factories per day by April 1944. And of those 276,000 planes, 68,000 were lost in combat or accidents, or more than 25%, over almost 4 years of war. That works out to dozens of aircraft lost each day, or more than 1,000 per month. Today's U.S. military has about 3,000 combat aircraft, including land-based and carrier-based fighters. Losing 1,000 aircraft in a month is a non sequitur. Either the U.S. would concede defeat or resort to nuclear weapons.